Welcome to Crown TV. Immerse yourself with a captivating audio from our stories. We provide an alternative way to read books in audio. We upload many audiobooks as possible, from bestsellers to timeless classic. Subscribe and stay tuned for new upload.
Episode 51, Harmony Island. After playing volleyball for a while, the girls decided to take a break. On the beach next to the volleyball court, there were many sunbeds, umbrellas, and beach mats. Some of the girls relaxed on recliners, while others were lying on the mats. They were sipping drinks brought to them by the waiters. The sweat on their bodies reflected the sunlight and emphasized their voluptuousness. Very little was left to the imagination of anyone walking by. "When did he call you?" one of the girls asked her friends as she took a sip of juice. "I got the call last night, and a helicopter brought me here today," her friend replied. Another girl joined in. "I arrived the day before yesterday." "I arrived yesterday," said another. The girls found out that they had all received an invitation from Justin Ambrose in the past 2 days, and had been collected by helicopter and brought to that small island. "It seems that we're all his girlfriends. I thought I was the only one," a beautiful young woman said crossly. "How can that be? Think about it. He must only spend a few days a year with you. I know that I only get to see him for 2 days a year." "Only 1 day for me," another girl said despondently. A smug girl said, "I feel better. He spends 2.5 days with me." "I only get a half a day," another girl sobbed. When everyone in the group had spoken, they had discovered that the most time anyone had spent with Justin was only 3 days a year. In total, he had spent less than 2 months with the girls. They wanted to know where he was the rest of the time. They all felt despondent about the situation. "His family business is huge. Even if there were 1,000 of us, I would still want to be with him," the first girl said. "Right," a few girls agreed. "Me too," another said. Alex nodded in understanding. So, these beautiful girls were brought to the island by his younger brother Justin. He had not seen his brother in 7 years, but he often thought about him. Alex smiled as he remembered the games they'd played together when they were young. "Didn't Justin say that he would come visit us today? Do you know why he brought us all here?" One of the young ladies looked at the others curiously. Another raised an eyebrow and said to the others, I wonder why he wants so many beautiful young women together with him in such a romantic setting." Meeting the others' shocked looks, she listlessly added, "I was only joking. It seems that Justin's big brother is injured, and it's quite serious. Justin wants him to stay on the island for a while, and he wants us to come here to stay with him," one of the girls said in a serious voice. When the others heard this, their ears perked up. Justin's big brother? Their hearts fluttered. One said what they were all thinking. "So, he's here to see his big brother. I wonder if his brother is as handsome as he is. If I can't have Justin to myself, then maybe I can have his brother. I really want to meet this big brother right now," said another thoughtfully. Another girl agreed. "If Justin and his brother both fell for me, I think I'd go crazy with joy. I'd marry them both and spend 2 days with Justin and 2 days with his brother." Ahem. Seeing all these beautiful young ladies, for a moment Alex forgot to breathe. After a few moments he recovered a little. These women seemed like they were open to anything. His cough attracted the girls' attention. They had been so busy chatting about the 2 young men that they had not noticed him arrive. They all shouted at the same time. "Who are you? Get lost!" one girl screamed. Another shouted, "Look at how he's staring at us. What a lech!" "Pervert!" another girl screamed at Alex. "Dirty bastard!" A beautiful blonde girl angrily gave Alex a middle finger. Alex stayed where he was, didn't say anything. He was rendered speechless after being sprayed with insults by these beautiful girls. "You just said how much you wanted to meet me," he thought. "You little shit, scram! Don't let us see you here again," the first girl screamed at him. Alex decided not to explain anything to these girls. If they found out he was Justin's older brother, he would never get away from them. He shook his head and turned around, preparing to leave. At this moment, another girl walked past him. Her fragrance overwhelmed Alex. It was so beautiful, so aromatic, so pure. All the girls on the beach were gorgeous, but none of them compared to this girl's beauty. Alex's hands trembled and he dropped one of his crutches. The girl noticed Alex staring at her. She said, "Humph, damn loser. You don't know how lucky you are just to be able to look at me." She was so preoccupied with belittling Alex that she didn't notice the crutch on the ground. She tripped over it and quickly fell, shouting, "Ah!" Alex managed to grab her hand and tried to stop her from falling. However, he had not fully recovered from his injuries and he didn't have enough strength, so they fell together. The girl fell on the crutch, hurting her hip. Before she could recover, Alex landed right on top of her. She cried out, "Ouch!" feeling as if her bones were breaking. Alex landed on top of her in a daze. He was confused. "What have I landed on? It's so soft, so elastic. It feels like my face has sunken into a lovely soft pillow." He was struggling to breathe. He quickly raised his head. He was shocked as he realized that his face had been buried in the girl's chest. Then he noticed that his hands were still on top of her. The girl felt a great weight on her chest. When she looked down, she saw that Alex's hand was on her breast, and Alex was still sitting on her body. She was horrified. "Bastard!" she screamed angrily. She slapped Alex's face and shook him off. She quickly stood up and straightened her hair. "Do you know who I am?" The girl pointed at Alex and screamed, "Stupid little shit. I'm Justin Ambrose's girlfriend. You're in so much trouble." The other girls hurried over to see if they could help her. Listening to the girl's friends, Alex worked out that her name was Freya Morrison, and she was Justin's favorite girlfriend. The other girls seemed to follow her lead. Freya continued screaming at Alex, "Just you wait. Touch me and you'll be sorry you were ever born." Freya crossed her arms in anger as her chest heaved up and down. Her friends also started screaming at him. "I can't believe the nerve of this scumbag. How dare you touch Freya? Do you have a death wish?" one shouted. Another screeched, "And he was staring at us. We should gouge his eyes out." "How could he do that? I think we should cut his dick off and see if he wants to leer at us then," another said with a sneer. "All right, I'll call the island security team and tell them about this pervert. I'm shocked at their negligence. We're all Justin Ambrose's girlfriends. They should be protecting us," Freya said forcefully, and the others agreed. Seeing the others nodding in encouragement, she sneered at Alex and said coldly, "Just wait, Justin's going to have you castrated." Because they were girlfriends of Justin Ambrose, they were convinced that they were better than Alex, particularly as he was dressed like one of the island's workers. Freya thought, "I'm Justin's favorite girlfriend, so I can easily own this island one day. You're just a poor worker. How dare you even look at me?" Alex picked up his crutches and stared at this group of ferocious women. Originally, he had just wanted to leave quietly, and had even felt a little guilty toward Freya, but these girls hadn't even given him a chance to explain himself. They had said such cruel things to him. "They hate me so much," he thought. "Since you want to take me on, let's see what you're made of." Freya took out her phone and called the head of the island security team. She looked at Alex with a sharp smile. But just as she was about to press call, a young man's voice sounded from behind them. "Darlings, now both your men are here." The moment they heard the voice, the angered expressions on the girls' faces quickly turned to surprise. They turned their heads, and when they saw who had arrived, they exploded with joy. "Justin!" The girls screamed out in surprise, as if they had won the jackpot. They quickly forgot all about Alex as they rushed over to Justin. Alex was suddenly alone. He watched Justin, who was wearing shorts, a flowery shirt, and a huge pair of sunglasses, open his arms to welcome his 10 girlfriends. Slow down," Justin said as he was mobbed by the girls. But he was too late. He was already surrounded by his girlfriends who were squeezing him, almost suffocating him. They were kissing him madly all over his face. All right. Justin was being fiercely kissed by the young ladies, and his face was covered in lipstick marks. Freya coughed a few times. When the other girls heard her, they all made way for her. "At least Freya still has some etiquette. Look at all of you. You're acting like victims of a famine," Justin said as he looked at Freya, who was standing opposite him. Freya shyly walked up to Justin and raised her head to look at him coyly. She put her hands around his head and kissed him deeply. Justin was speechless. Wow, I was just praising you for your modesty. Who knew that you'd kiss me with even more passion than them? Justin, you're finally here. That smelly worker just insulted me, Freya said with a sob and then looked toward Alex, who was not far away. She rested her hand on Justin's shoulder to support herself as she said, It's him. Just now, he put his hand on me. Justin, you have to teach him that he can't touch me. Another girl joined in. Yes, not only did he touch Freya, but he was also watching us, lusting over our bodies. Justin, please help us, said another. Justin was also angry. He said to Alex, You dared to touch my girlfriend? And you dared to touch so many of the girls? Have you got a death wish? He walked toward Alex angrily and said, Hey, you really have some guts. How dare you touch my girlfriend? You're... Alex! As he was staring at Alex, the realization came over him. He finally recognized this man. He was the older brother that had taken care of him when he was young. Episode 53, Undercover. Are you sure? You almost died. Don't you hold Ken responsible at all? Lincoln asked Alex. Alex looked at his grandfather seriously in the eye and said, Not at all. He shook his head and continued, Even if I died, it wouldn't have been Mr. Stokes' fault. His responsibility is to help the Ambrose family manage the business and take care of the East Coast direct affairs, not my safety. Punishing Mr. Stokes isn't only unfair, it'll also unsettle and demotivate everyone who works for us. This surprised Lincoln, and he started to wonder if he was getting too old to run his family business empire. His brain worked more slowly now, and he hadn't thought everything through clearly. He feared that he no longer had the vigor that had defined his youth. Lincoln laughed and replied, Good for you. I agree with you, and I'll do as you say. I won't punish Ken Stokes. Thank you, Grandpa. Ken had been fetched back to the room. It took him a few seconds for him to digest the news and react. He kept bowing to Lincoln and thanking him. Then he turned to Alex and said, Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much for your compassion. After resolving the issue with Ken, Lincoln let him leave. Then he turned to Alex and said, You're a good boy, and you've grown so tall already. You only came up to my chest when you left home. Lincoln helped Alex up with a gratified expression. Alex's feelings were mixed. He started to speak. Grandpa. He looked carefully at his grandfather. He noticed that his grandfather had become old. The wrinkles on his face had increased, and his gaze was no longer as sharp as when he was young. Hearing the words grandfather, the elderly man felt joy in his heart. He sat with Alex at the table and asked him about his injuries and all about the last 7 years. He said to Alex, Now that you've passed the poverty test, you don't need to study at Preston University anymore. I'll send you to an internationally renowned school to study. Tell me, Harvard, Oxford, which university do you want to attend? Alex shook his head with a faint smile. He replied, I feel that Preston University is pretty good. I'd like to continue studying there. His grandfather disagreed. At Preston? Child, you must understand that in the future, you will inherit unimaginable wealth. Your older brothers are already studying in the most outstanding universities abroad. Do you really want to stay in a place as small as Preston University? Who said that a first-rate university abroad would suit me better than Preston? At least, I don't think it would. Alex shrugged. Lincoln was satisfied with Alex's answer. He responded, Good, you have guts. You are indeed my grandson. The grandfather and grandson talked for more than an hour at the Seabreeze restaurant before Alex took the initiative to leave. He knew that Lincoln came to see him, but also that his grandfather managed the affairs of the whole family and must be extremely busy. Lincoln stood in front of the window, looking at the scenery in the distance with a self-satisfied smile. You seem to be especially pleased with Alex. Do you like him more than your other grandsons? The man behind Lincoln asked him respectfully. Lincoln was slightly startled. He had never thought about it before. He slowly looked at the man. Brandon, you've been by my side for almost 10 years. What do you think of Alex? Alex is modest and loves his girlfriend. He doesn't pursue power or fame. This is the difference between him and your other grandsons. It's also his advantage. Brandon bowed slightly as he spoke. Advantage? Lincoln asked with a faint smile. Forgive me, I said too much, Brandon said with humility. Oh, you don't have to be afraid. There's nothing you can't say to me. Lincoln's gaze turned outside the window again. I'm very aware that my body's getting old. In the next few years, I will definitely have to choose my successor as the head of the Ambrose family. Alex does indeed have an advantage in terms of personality and quality, but there's still time. No one can really predict what will happen in the future. Leaving the Seabreeze restaurant, Alex had headed straight for Debbie's room. By this time, Justin and Debbie had gotten to know each other quite well. The cheerful Justin was impressed with her. Seeing that Debbie had finally woken up, Alex was pleased. Alex, where did you find such a delightful girlfriend? Tell me so I can go find one too. Justin grinned as he asked Alex, while Debbie smiled shyly. If not for the fact that Debbie was already Alex's girlfriend, Justin would have done his best to woo Debbie for himself. It took another 20 days for Alex and Debbie's injuries to heal completely. Justin had only been with them on the island for a week, but he had started feeling restless and lonely, and decided he needed to leave the island and get back to his life of boozing, partying, and women. That day, Alex and Debbie also agreed that they should leave the island and return to school. In a private helicopter, they flew across the sea toward New York. This month has been like a dream. I didn't expect your family to be so big, Debbie said as she looked at the clouds outside the window. I told you before, you just didn't believe me, Alex said with a smile. After recuperating on the island for the last month, Debbie's face had filled out. She was still wearing her beige dress and looked even more beautiful. At 6 p.m, the helicopter slowly landed on the helipad. Alex pulled Debbie to the roadside and looked for a taxi to take them back to school. Just as he was flagging one down, his phone rang. The screen told him that it was Wayne Wing, one of Sam Woodsworth's assistants from the Berkeley Hotel. Mr. Ambrose, I heard that you've left Harmony Island. Have you arrived in New York yet? Yes, we just landed, Alex replied. Wayne continued. Good. The East Coast Division Manager of Foreign Trade, Graham Sterling, wants to treat you to dinner at the Golden Mansion Hotel tonight. Last time when Mr. Stokes invited you to dinner, he was away visiting the United Kingdom and was unable to join you. He only returned yesterday. Alex thought for a few seconds. All right, then I'll go this time. But I don't really want to have to attend these social events right now. In the future, if you wanted to join his family's management team, this kind of social interaction would be necessary. But he wasn't at that level yet. He didn't want to waste too much time on this kind of thing. Excellent. I'll inform him now and I'll send you his phone number. After ending the call, Alex pulled Debbie into a taxi and they headed straight for the Golden Mansion Hotel. The taxi pulled up in front of the hotel and Alex and Debbie climbed out. They noticed quite a few luxury cars pulling up at the entrance. The doorman, wearing formal attire, was opening the door for the owners of the vehicles. Alex listened to a few of the customers as they passed and learned that they had all been invited by Graham too. Alex frowned slightly. He had assumed that the meal would just be for him, Debbie, and Graham. He hadn't expected so many people to be invited. He stepped to the side and called Graham, asking him to come out and speak with him immediately. A few seconds later, a middle-aged man in a smart suit came out of the hotel. When he saw Alex, he walked over with a smile. He had seen Alex's photo before and recognized him without any difficulty. Alex, you've come. Come in, please. I've arranged everything. And I've invited some of New York's elite business owners to welcome you here, Graham said with a shy smile. He even smiled at Debbie, who was beside Alex. That made Debbie nervous. Graham had never come into direct contact with anyone from the Ambrose family, so he felt very honored that Alex had accepted his invitation. He thought that Alex would surely appreciate the opportunity to meet so many important people. His only concern was that Alex would think that he had not invited enough people to be worth his time, so he was still a bit anxious. As they were speaking, a gentleman who had climbed out of a luxury car saw Graham and walked over. It's a great honor as always that you've invited me to your party. Who's this? The young man had seen Graham bow toward Alex and greet him with a respectful smile. could not figure out who this young man was. "This is..." Graham cleared his throat, but just as he was about to introduce them, Alex beat him to it. "Pleased to meet you, I'm Adam Childs." Alex extended his hand toward the man. If he had been well known in New York, hiding his identity would have been impossible. "Adam Childs?" The man looked puzzled. He had never heard of such a person. "What do you do?" "Never mind that. The guests are all here. You should hurry up and join everyone." Graham had been carefully observing the situation. When it was clear that Alex didn't want to reveal his real name, he had immediately stepped in to help him. The man left with an apologetic smile. "Alex, did I invite too many people this time?" Graham asked. "What do you think?" Alex asked with a smile. "I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you wanted to keep a low profile. I'll get rid of them all at once." As he spoke, Graham started to head back into the restaurant to ask all the guests to leave. "Come back," Alex called for Graham to stop. He said kindly, "Since everyone's already arrived, let them stay. Just please don't invite everyone next time." "Yes, of course. Thank you, Alex," Graham said as he led Alex and Debbie into the hotel. Graham had booked a 3,000-square-foot banquet hall, and it was full of guests. Alex let Graham entertain the others as he and Debbie walked to the bar. Alex and Debbie were casually eating at the bar when they overheard one of the guests saying, "I heard that Mr. Sterling called so many of us here as a welcome feast for an important young gentleman. Who do you think is worthy of the boss's attention?" "It can't be Walter Flint, right?" his companion replied. "Impossible. The news said that Flint is currently on holiday in Hawaii," the first man answered. "Whoever it is, it'll be someone like Flint. I'm sure we'll get a chance to take a good look at him later. We should take the opportunity to meet important people like him." Debbie secretly smiled at Alex. "Do you still want to hide your identity? It sounds like this Graham has already told everyone about you." Alex could only grimace. While everyone was chatty, Graham walked to the front of the stage and said into the microphone, "All right, please take a seat, everyone." The guests began to look for places at the table to sit. Unfortunately, there were no fixed seating arrangements because the banquet had been organized in such haste. Alex pulled Debbie with him, and they sat at the table farthest from the stage. A couple sat down beside them. The young lady who sat beside Alex said sweetly, "Hi, my name is Kathy Fairweather. Nice to meet you." When she saw Alex's face, Kathy stopped speaking abruptly. "It's you. And that peasant is with you." Kathy had attended Episode 52, The Patriarch. "I'm relieved that you finally recognize me." Alex patted Justin's shoulder. Justin took off his sunglasses, looked Alex up and down, and shouted excitedly, "Big brother, is it really you?" After hugging Alex for a long time, he finally stepped back. The beautiful young women were watching everything. One of them stammered to her friend, I heard something a moment ago. Did you hear what Justin just called that loser? Did you hear him say big brother? Did you hear that?" She turned to look at the others and saw that they were as shocked as she was. They had been waiting to have a good laugh at Alex's expense, but now they felt uneasy. That bastard was Justin's brother. They didn't dare to think about what they had just done. The thought of it was too alarming. "So, Alex, I understand you were leering at my girlfriend and even touched her chest. So that's the sort of person you are, is it? Did you fall for her? Let me tell you, she's a real goer. If you like her, I'll give her to you. If not, I'll find you someone else," Justin said with a wicked smile. "Get out of here," Alex smiled wryly. Justin had always been a joker when he was young. He had not seen his brother for a few years, and he couldn't believe how much he had grown up. As the two of them chatted about their childhoods, they walked over to Freya and the others. Freya lowered her head and said timidly, "I'm sorry, Mr. Ambrose. I was blind. I didn't mean to offend you." "I'm sorry too, Mr. Ambrose," another girl said. "We were wrong," a few of them cried out in unison. "We're so sorry." All 10 girls apologized to Alex. At this moment, Justin remembered all the bad things that the girls had said about Alex. He pointed at the group and said sternly, "You bunch of blind idiots. Just now you accused my brother of ogling you and even touching you. Do you know who Alex is? Do you really think he needs to sneak around to leer at you and touch you?" Alex relaxed as he watched his brother defend him. Even if Alex couldn't resist touching any of you, you should feel grateful and be thinking about how to please him. Not... Alex stopped his brother. What did Justin just say? What did he mean by, even if he can't resist? It's natural for a man to want beautiful women, and I'm the same as any other man, but I can certainly control myself. My will is strong. When Justin became angry, the girls shuddered and kneeled in the sand, looking beseechingly at him. Justin, we were wrong. Please forgive us this once, they cried. Alex, we should punish them. Let's get them to run around the island until they're too tired to walk, Justin suggested. Alex looked at the group of girls and said with a smile, Nah, these women are all your girlfriends, and they're beautiful. They were just a little rude. The girls were thinking, the older brother Alex seems to know how to be compassionate. He said that we're beautiful. This man is a gentleman after all. But how can he control himself when he sees us in our bikinis? Hoping to attract Alex now, all the girls stuck out their chests and pouted. Alex addressed the girls. You're all familiar with the items on a bed, right? Alex asked them brazenly. The items on a bed, they thought. What's he referring to? He can't just be talking about sex because he emphasized the word items. Is he talking about candles or even whips? Okay, Alex knows how to spice things up. One of the girls said, Mr. Ambrose, I understand. I'm very experienced, and I'll do anything for you in bed. Me too. I've been in all sorts of beds. No one knows a better bed than me, another added. Another girl said, I'll keep you warm in bed. I guarantee you'll never want to leave. When they said these things to Alex, they bit their lips in an alluring manner and winked at him. They each believed that if they could seduce him, they would be comfortable for the rest of their lives. Excellent. Alex nodded with satisfaction and looked at Justin. He asked him, Do you remember the accommodation area for workers on our island? Justin replied, Yes, I know it. There are more than 1,000 workers and servants on the island. They lived in the same accommodation area for decades. Their children live there too. Okay. Alex nodded and looked at the girls. You guys go there right now. Take the bed sheets off their beds and wash them yourselves. And there are probably 70 or 80 children there who are under 2 years old who need feeding. What? The girls were horrified. This man doesn't want to go to bed with us, but he wants us to go and wash the bed sheets for the workers? And to breastfeed the workers' children? They thought. They couldn't help but look at their voluptuous bodies, and they felt desperate. Our luscious breasts aren't here for breastfeeding. Are you interested at all in our gorgeous bodies? Even if you're not interested, we shouldn't have to ruin our wonderful figures by breastfeeding. Justin saw their reluctance and questioned them. What? Have you got any objections to what Alex just told you to do? Of course the girls had objections, but they didn't dare to voice them out loud. One by one, they shook their heads at Justin with awkward smiles, stood up and walked away with reluctant hearts. Awesome! Justin gave Alex a big thumbs up. Only my big brother could come up with such a fabulous idea. It's good to get them actually doing some work. How do you become so full of yourself? Oh, right. Our family didn't make you go through the poverty test like me. Since Alex had left the family 7 years ago to take the poverty test, he had received no news or updates about his family members. I'm not Alex. I've got no desire to be the head of the family. In fact, when you become the boss in the future, you'll have to take care of me, Justin said to Alex with a cheeky smile. Alex sighed. His little brother hadn't changed at all. He only ever thought about himself. Hey, bro, I heard from Uncle Frank that you brought your girlfriend here. Why don't you take me to see my future sister-in-law? Justin said while rubbing his hands. All right. Alex was about to go with Justin to find Debbie when George Ambrose walked over quickly. Alex and Justin, your grandfather's arrived. He's currently at the Seabreeze restaurant. He's waiting to see you, Alex. Grandpa's here. Alex was a little excited. He looked at Justin and said, Let's go see Grandpa together. Justin smiled and said, Alex, you go yourself. It's you that Grandpa really wants to see. Besides, I get to see him all the time. All right, Debbie's in room 304. Go meet her, Alex replied, then followed George toward the Seabreeze restaurant. An elderly but animated and healthy-looking man sat at the wooden table. He was Lincoln Ambrose. the patriarch of the Ambrose family. Behind him stood a man in his 30s, wearing casual clothes. He looked fit, like an athlete. Another man was kneeling in front of Lincoln. It was Ken Stokes, the boss of the East Coast division of the family business, who had hosted a banquet for Alex at the Golden Mansion Hotel. Lincoln looked at Ken and thought, the Ken Stokes I know was always chattering merrily and was admired by everyone. However, this Ken Stokes is trembling with fear, with beads of sweat running down his forehead. What on earth is wrong with him? Ken was kneeling on the ground as he said in a panicked voice, Alex was injured in the East Coast area. He was almost killed and I couldn't protect him. I'm ready to accept my punishment. The security department of the Ambrose family was managed independently from the rest of the business. Therefore, even though Ken was the manager of the East Coast division, he had no control over the security team. He wasn't even aware of the security team's movements. Ken had only heard about Alex's injuries when Alex was sent to recover on Harmony Island. Many people in the family didn't understand this and held Ken responsible for Alex's injuries. When he had planned this visit to the island, Lincoln had decided to take the opportunity to see Alex and resolve the issues with Ken. Lincoln reassured Ken, well, it doesn't have much to do with you. After all, it's impossible for you to keep an eye on Alex all the time. However, I can see why the family's upset. The other members of the family might not understand it. Even if they do. Lincoln stopped talking abruptly, suddenly feeling that he had already said too much. As the head of the Ambrose family, only Lincoln could understand how difficult it was to be in charge of such a large clan. The various forces in the clan were delicately balanced, but when they thought someone had messed up, everything could quickly fall apart. Even though he knew that the incident wasn't Ken's fault, he also knew that he would have to act in order to maintain order within the family. I agree that someone must take responsibility for this incident. I'm sorry, Ken, but I have to remove you from your position as the head of the East Coast Division. You no longer work for the Ambrose family. Lincoln was very disappointed. He liked and respected Ken, but he felt he had no choice. What? Cried out Ken. When Lincoln announced the punishment, he was dumbfounded. He had never expected the punishment to be this severe. He had worked for the Ambrose family for 30 years. The family and his work were his whole life. Sir, please reconsider. Firing me is worse than killing me. Ken bowed and pleaded crazily. I'm sorry. It is done, Lincoln said in disappointment. Sir, I beg of you. Ken became desperate and moved forward while kneeling. The man standing behind Lincoln saw this and kicked Ken's shoulder. Ken screamed and crashed into the wall. The man then retreated behind Lincoln as if he had never moved. Ken's body was in pain, but his heart was hurting even more. He knew that there was nothing he could do. He got up with difficulty and nodded to Lincoln, then turned around and prepared to leave. Around this time, Alex, using his crutches, slowly walked up to the Sea Breeze restaurant. He was surprised to see Ken walking out, looking inconsolable. When he entered the restaurant, Alex saw that his grandfather's dour expression and guessed that Ken had been punished because of what had happened to him. Alex walked over to Lincoln and stood in front of him, leaning on his crutches. Alex! Exclaimed Lincoln when he saw him. He had not seen him for 7 years and became emotional. He stood up and wanted to take a good look at his grandson. Grandpa, please take back Mr. Stokes' punishment. Alex kneeled down before Lincoln. Oh. Lincoln was impressed with Alex. After not seeing him for 7 years, the first thing he did was to plead for one of his subordinates. Aren't you going to ask what punishment I gave him? He asked his grandson. No matter what the penalty is, even if it's only $10, please take it back. It's not Mr. Stokes' fault. Alex was determined to defend Ken Stokes. Episode 54, The Prize Draw. When he saw Kathy, Alex was speechless. Why did he bump into her everywhere he went? He and Debbie tried to change seats, but they found that all the other seats were already occupied. They had no choice but to sit with Kathy. Debbie gently grabbed Alex's arm. She was still a little afraid of Kathy, so Alex comforted her in a soft voice. Seeing the two of them being so intimate, Kathy felt even more annoyed. In the back of her mind, she thought that even though she dumped Alex, he would still put her first. He shouldn't be all over this other woman in front of her. "How did you two get in? This isn't the sort of place that would let you in," Kathy asked aggressively. "You think you can steal Mr. Morgan's money and then get yourself invited to a banquet? You think it's that easy?" Billy asked sarcastically. "I think you're planning something else. Alex, what rich guy are you targeting now?" Alex tried to ignore these two bullies. He didn't even look at them and only whispered to Debbie. But Kathy continued. "Oh, these losers snuck in. I'm going to tell everyone. I'll tell the host about it right now and have them kicked out." She was about to stand up, but Billy stopped her. They had only managed to get invited because of Kathy's connections, so he didn't want attention drawn to him. When the others at the table heard Kathy shouting at Alex and Debbie, they asked her why she hated them so much. She replied, "You're too funny. Why shouldn't I bear a grudge with someone like him? Don't we deserve to get our own back on him?" Kathy proudly explained to the others. "I just can't bear to see them acting like nothing's happened. Together they stole $350,000 from our school's intern fund. You must agree that these two people are complete degenerates." When the others heard what she said, they started pointing fingers at Alex and Debbie. "Kathy, you've got to watch your tongue and stop spreading these lies about us." Alex had had enough. How could he enjoy his meal with Kathy making these accusations again? Seeing that she was finally getting a reaction out of Alex, Kathy's anger grew. She shouted at him, "Wow! You stole $350,000 of the school's money. Why don't you just admit it? Why do you think you're better than everyone else? Everyone should know that you're a shameless thief who stole $350,000 and gave the money to this slut. You shameless bastard, Alex. I was just talking about you. What's wrong with you, you coward? You want to hit me now, don't you? If you're not too scared, why don't you just do it?" Kathy arrogantly turned her face to Alex. She had guessed that he wouldn't want to hit her in front of everyone. "You..." Alex wanted to slap her face, but Debbie stopped him. "Forget it. Just ignore her." Alex nodded and suppressed his anger. "You can't even stand up to a girl. What a coward," Kathy said, sneering at Alex. "If I was you, I'd be trying to think of a way to pay back that money. You two are such losers." Kathy rolled her eyes and punched Alex viciously in the chest. Alex couldn't take it anymore. He slapped Kathy hard on the face, knocking her down on the ground. Billy quickly helped her up. Debbie held Alex's arms to prevent him from doing anything else to her. Kathy started shouting that she was ready to fight with Alex, when Graham's voice came across the sound system. "I'd like to thank all of you for coming. I've asked you all here at such short notice to let you know..." When Kathy heard Graham's words, she stopped shouting and calmed down. It would be disrespectful to Graham if she continued making trouble while he was speaking. Graham continued to speak, and everyone listened politely. They understood Graham's position in the East Coast Division and felt honored to be invited. However, when one of the managers realized that Graham was at the end of his speech and hadn't mentioned the young heir, he asked him, "Isn't this a special banquet for a young heir of the Ambrose family? I think we're all very keen to meet that important young man." How could they not want to meet that noble young gentleman that Graham valued so much? Other guests agreed. "That's right." "Yes, do introduce young Mr. Ambrose," another called out. "We all want to meet the young man." Graham, who was on the stage, looked at Alex. His gaze was warm and encouraging. Alex just gave him a meaningful glance. Graham announced, "I understand that everyone wants to meet Mr. Ambrose, and I will pass that message to him. Unfortunately, the young man is busy right now. He did just come to the banquet hall, and he was extremely pleased to see how many people were here, but he already had to leave. In the silence when Graham had finished speaking, everyone heard a groaning voice from one of the tables. "Stupid loser," Kathy grumbled. Billy was trying to placate her. Kathy cursed Alex as her anger grew. Perhaps she couldn't blame everything on Alex, but she felt if he had not been there, somehow she might have met the mysterious Ambrose heir. Alex was like a jinx. "All right, in order to make up for everyone's disappointment, we're going to have a lottery. Anyone here could win," Graham announced loudly. He explained the rules to everyone. Each guest had their seat number. Shortly, the screen would display some random numbers, and whoever's number appeared would win the prize. With Graham being a senior manager in the company, the rewards were, of course, expensive and desirable. The least valuable rewards were an Apple XS phone and an emerald bracelet worth $50,000. The best prize was a diamond necklace worth $200,000. Graham had his assistant show everyone the necklace. It was sparkling and indescribably beautiful. The eyes of everyone present, especially the women, lit up. Although she knew that her chances were slim, Kathy still had a glimmer of hope in her heart that she would win this diamond necklace. 15 minutes later, all the prizes except the diamond necklace had been given out. Many of the guests had won prizes, including Kathy, who had won an emerald bracelet. However, she wasn't satisfied with her prize. Although the bracelet was pretty, it was worthless in comparison to the diamond necklace that she had her heart set on. However, when she looked at Alex and Debbie, who hadn't won anything at all, she felt much better. She fiddled with the emerald bracelet on her arm and nonchalantly said, "This bracelet is really beautiful. I'm sure people will be jealous." Debbie looked at Alex. He smiled and comforted her. "It's all right. That bracelet looks like it belongs to an old spinster." "You?" Kathy choked on Alex's words. She looked at the bracelet and thought that it did look like an old lady's bracelet. She took it off. On the screen, they were already drawing the final prize. The numbers were rolling onto the screen. 7. The first number came out. It was table number 7, Alex's table. All the guests at this table became excited, especially Kathy. If she could get this diamond necklace, she would be ecstatic. It was worth over $200,000. Plus, then she would have won 2 prizes, and when she came on stage, she would hint to her boss that she was a lucky charm who could help the company make a fortune. Just as Kathy's imagination was running away with her, the second number appeared. 1. At the same time, the third number began to scroll. There were 12 people at each table, and the second number was 1, which meant that the winner would either be 10, 11, or 12. Alex was 10, Billy was 11, Kathy was 12. Kathy's excitement increased. She felt the shining necklace beckoning to her, and she saw that all eyes were focused on the 3 of them. "It's me, it's me, it's me," Kathy muttered under her breath, as if she was trying to control the numbers with her mind. But on the outside, she pretended not to care, because she knew that everyone was looking at her. The numbers started to slow down, and Kathy's hands were entwined. The numbers were getting slower and slower. 2. It was Kathy. She stood up excitedly. Billy also stood up. The 2 of them embraced. After hugging for a while, Kathy wanted to say a few polite words to the other guests. But then her eyes were pulled to the big screen again. To her horror, the number didn't stop there, but it continued to scroll. The 2 disappeared and a 0 appeared. Kathy's heart plunged. "It's Alex's fault," she thought. "Why did the numbers change again?" One more time, Kathy urged under her breath. If the number jumped to 1, Billy would win the prize. "They'll give the diamond necklace to me," Kathy thought joyfully. However, the numbers on the screen did not scroll. They clearly showed 710, which was Alex's seat number. Kathy's heart turned to stone. Alex had won the prize. She looked at Alex slowly with a gaze full of hatred. She wanted to kill him. Billy pulled Kathy to her seat. He felt ashamed of her behavior. Of course, Alex was now the center of attention. Graham smiled happily and said to Alex, "This young man has all the luck. Please come on stage to receive your prize now." The others looked at Alex with envy. Alex guessed that Graham was probably responsible, but he could only smile. Since he had already won the prize, so be it. He had not given Debbie anything really impressive yet, and this diamond necklace was stunning. "Come on, let's go over." Alex held Debbie's hand, and they walked toward the stage. Kathy's eyes were filled with a cold gleam. She should be the one walking toward the stage. She was sure that the two of them had somehow changed the numbers and stolen their diamond necklace. "Nice to meet you, young man. Congratulations." Graham shook Alex's hand and smiled. Alex also noticed a hint of flattery in his eyes. Graham prepared to give Alex the diamond necklace. "Mr. Sterling, you haven't introduced this handsome guy to us yet," a confident woman said from her seat in a loud voice. The other guests also started to call out to him. Said Graham, knowing that Alex wanted to keep a low profile. He glanced at Alex, who was looking at him calmly, waiting to see what he would do. Graham had an idea and announced to the guests, "This is Adam Childs. Adam is young and has certainly had good luck today." Luckily, Graham remembered the name that Alex had used when he had arrived. When he saw Alex relax, he felt relieved. Graham was about to give Alex the diamond necklace. "Adam Childs? You liar!" Kathy shouted as she stood up and looked at him with a cold glare. "Don't believe him. He's not Adam Childs. His name is Alex, and he's a stinking loser from Preston University. And he's the thief who stole $350,000 from the school." Episode 55, The Wrong Man. When Kathy heard Graham address Alex as Adam Childs, she snickered to herself. Adam Childs, she thought. What nonsense. But wait a moment. Why is that name so familiar? Oh, right, it was that rich student from Minnie's live broadcast room. Kathy finally understood that Alex had used a fake identity to get himself invited to the banquet. This loser is quite smart. It's just that he never expected Billy and me to be here, and he never thought he'd be lucky enough to win a diamond necklace. Alex, you're so pleased with yourself for winning the prize, but just wait. I'm going to expose you right now and get you put in jail. As expected, Kathy's shout caused a huge uproar, and the other guests started to talk excitedly amongst themselves. Alex sighed. Now Kathy's caused such a ruckus, it's going to be even harder to keep under radar. Everyone's going to want to know who I am, and as part of the Ambrose family, it'll be really difficult to keep my identity hidden, he thought. For now, I'll just try to deny it. Miss, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Alex took the microphone and said blandly to Kathy, Hey, you're still pretending to be rich, aren't you? In front of so many decent people? Tell them who you really are, Kathy answered aggressively. Mr. Sterling already announced who I am. Since it seems that you didn't understand, I'll tell you again. I'm Adam Childs. If you really are Adam Childs, then tell me, which company are you from? Kathy wanted to expose Alex. The people attending the party were all well-known business people in New York, so who was he going to pretend to be? I don't need to answer your questions. I have business here worth $350,000 with this company. Alex's expression became increasingly serious. Ha! $350,000? You've got the audacity to talk about $350,000 when that's the amount you stole from the school. Are you completely brain dead? Kathy assumed that Alex had blurted that out thoughtlessly in a moment of desperation. Then it's easy to find out the truth. Let Mr. Sterling tell us if you really have a $350,000 business here, or are you just spouting nonsense to all of us? I'll soon prove that you're up to no good. If you're hoping everyone will think you're innocent, dream on, she thought. The others also focused their attention on Graham. Deep down, they were also suspicious of Alex. Mr. Childs and I do have a business worth $350,000. In fact, within the next 2 years, we'll have another business worth $5 million, Graham said to the guests at the tables. How is this possible? The smile on Kathy's face froze. At that moment, her mind was in turmoil. Why is Mr. Sterling colluding with Alex? Where did Alex get the $350,000 from? It can't be true. Everything must be a scam. It's Alex's doing. No, please don't believe Alex, that scammer. Look, I have his photo on my phone. He's really just a loser at our school. He stole $350,000 last month. I have pictures to prove everything. Look. Kathy opened her cell phone and showed Alex's photo around to the other guests. However, the others didn't even bother to look at the photos. They trusted Graham and had taken his word as truth. They had no more doubts. Is this girl mad? One of the guests asked. A well-dressed gentleman said, She thought she had won the necklace just now. I think this girl is just jealous. His wife agreed. You're right. What a vulgar girl. The necklace is expensive, but it's not acceptable to maliciously hurt someone else to get your way. Young lady, please stop messing around and sit down. Graham frowned and said to Kathy. Kathy was determined to make her point, but she was pulled down by Billy. Graham was already angry, and it would be extremely humiliating if he had them physically thrown out by security. Kathy sat down and used her phone to call 911. If the school didn't call the police, then she would. Let the police find the truth. Do I really have nothing better to do? Graham muttered to himself. He looked at Kathy and thought, what am I supposed to do if you continue to slander Alex? Graham took the necklace from his assistant and handed it over to Alex respectfully. Thank you, Alex said calmly, supporting the necklace with his hands. He turned to Debbie and said, We've been dating for a bit now, but I've never given you anything really beautiful. Today I'll use this necklace to make up for it, and I'll buy you something even better in the future. Then Alex put the necklace on Debbie's neck and arranged it for her. Wearing the diamond necklace, Debbie looked stunning. She looked just like an elegant woman from a noble family. Kathy, who was sitting in the audience, could barely contain her anger. Miss Stonehill, Adam has given you the $200,000 diamond necklace. Is there anything you'd like to say? Graham said to Debbie with a smile. Go on, say something, called out one of the guests. Another gentleman said, Tell us how you're feeling. Kiss him, called out his wife. The guests at the tables all started calling out to Debbie. Debbie's face turned red. She looked at Alex, begging him for help, but she found that he was barely looking at her. He gave her a small smile, but seemed distracted. The jeering from the tables continued. Debbie fiddled with the corner of her dress and criticized Alex in her mind. Stupid Alex, can't he see I need help? But everyone was watching, so Debbie gritted her teeth and stepped over to Alex to gently kiss his lips. Alex was happy. At least she still wants to kiss me. Debbie only wanted to kiss him lightly. She didn't expect Alex to grab her, hug her, and act like a lout. He stuck his tongue into her mouth in front of everyone. Debbie was stupefied. She felt extremely ashamed. She wanted to reject him, but she couldn't make him stop. She tried to look into Alex's eyes, but they were closed. He seemed to be enjoying himself. In front of so many people, there wasn't much that Debbie could do, so she let Alex continue kissing her. He kissed her for more than 20 seconds before he slowly let go. Then he wiped his lips in satisfaction and looked at Debbie with a cheeky smile. Debbie grimaced. She calmly reached behind Alex and pinched him on his side. When she saw him smile at her with tears in his eyes, she felt satisfied. At that moment, the main door of the banquet hall opened and 3 uniformed police officers walked in. Everyone was perplexed. What was going on? Why were the police here? When Kathy saw them, a smile appeared on her face. Alex, you shameless swindler. It's time to go to jail, she thought. Kathy ran to the police excitedly and pointed at Alex on the stage. She said, Officer, I'm the one who called you. Our school lost $350,000, and it was that man on stage who stole the money. All the teachers will tell you it's true. Arrest him. Her eyes flashed with a cruel smile. Alex, you're finished, she thought. I'm sorry, but you're confused, young lady. We're not responding to a 911 call. We're here based on other evidence that we've gathered, one of the officers said solemnly. What? Kathy was stupefied. But it seems like you were talking about the same case. We're here to arrest the suspect. That's good to hear, officer. Go on then, Kathy said with relief. Arrest him. With a shout from the police captain, the two sergeants behind him rushed forward, not toward Alex, but Billy. The two officers quickly pushed Billy to the ground. Billy protested and tried to fight them off. Kathy tried to stop them. Officer, you're arresting the wrong guy. That's my boyfriend. The guilty man is on stage. Let Billy go. Kathy wanted to pull the police away to save Billy. You're his girlfriend? The police captain looked at Kathy and said to the other two officers, Take her as well. Kathy was determined not to let them arrest her. She screamed at them, What are you doing? I'll sue you for wrongful arrest. Let me go. Kathy was furious. Why aren't the police arresting the real criminals? This stupid police don't know what they're doing, trying to arrest me and Billy. She continued to shout at them. So you're really going to arrest me? Fine, I'll tell your boss about this. Your career's over. The police captain smiled and said, Little girl, be careful of what you're saying. Let me ask you, where did you get all these designer clothes and expensive jewelry? According to our records, you and your boyfriend have been visiting designer boutiques, luxury hotels, and other expensive establishments a lot this month. Where did you get all this money from? Kathy replied grumpily, You're assuming that my boyfriend's family doesn't have any money, right? Just because the police receive handouts from all these rich families, do you think you can randomly arrest innocent people? Billy's family owns a karaoke bar and a medium-sized restaurant. They barely count as a rich family. How do you think he could afford to spend so much money this month? A policeman asked. Kathy suddenly realized that Billy had been spending a lot of money this month. Before this money, he had spent some money on her, but they had only been out for nice meals every few days, and he had occasionally paid for her to go to the spa. But this last month, Billy had taken her shopping in all kinds of luxury boutiques almost every day. He had regularly spent at least $10,000 or $20,000 on her. It was way more than the previous months. A terrifying possibility entered Kathy's mind. Could it be? At this moment, the police captain expressed her thoughts for her. He said, We've received a report and we've gathered plenty of evidence. Billy is the thief who stole the money from Preston University. We're not yet sure of your involvement, but we'll be investigating further. Right now, it is our legal obligation to apprehend you.
Thank you for listening to Crown TV. Please don't forget to subscribe, share and turn on the notification button.